One of the fundamental building blocks of the internet are hyperlinks, or for short, just links. So, links are what actually enables the internet to be a world wide web. So, without links between pages, there would be no web. And so, let's now learn how to place links on our web pages. Now, we can place links into two big categories. The first category is links that point to other pages within our own website. So let's say that there in our code magazine we had another blog post create a link from this page to that other page. Right? Now on the other hand, the other category is links that point to outside of our website. So for example, if I place a link to udemy.com here on this page, then that of course would be a link to that outside of our website, right? Now we do create these two types of links in the exact same way in HTML. But there is still some kind of particularities that we need to be aware of. And so let's now actually start with the second kind of link that was describing, which point outwards of our own website. So what I have here in the demo is that here the end of this part of this what is HTML section, I have a link to the MDN web docs. So this is basically a website where you can learn all about HTML and also CSS and JavaScript. And actually I will show you how this site a little bit better in the next section because it's important as a web developer to know how to use and find information here in this web documentation pages. So what we want is to grab the link of that, and so to do that just Google MDN, and for Mozilla Developer Network then just HTML, and the exact URL that we are gonna use here doesn't really matter. All we want is to have some URL that points outside of our own page. Right. So let's just grab this one here, which was the first Google result. So I'm copying it, and again keep in mind that this is called a URL. So as you know, every single website on the internet has its own URL. And so that it would we need in order to create a link to that page. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, we want to put that right here, this unordered list, right? Let's see in the demo. Yeah, so right here after the ordered list, so that's here to create a link in HTML. We have the element which stands for anchor. So technically a hyperlink or a link is actually called anchor in HTML. So it is an anchor element. We can close it, then we can specify some content, and then we have to actually close it. So let's start by doing that. Now, as of now, for the content of the link, what we specify here is actually the text that we want to be displayed on the page. So the text of the link, so in this case, that is MDN. Web docs. Alright, so MDN web browser, but now what about the URL where we want this link to point to? Well, for that we need to once again use an attribute. So in this case, it is the href attribute. Then equal to, then we can simply paste the URL inside the double quotes, and that's actually it. So if I give it a save now, and then if I try to reload it, if now I try to reload it, it will actually displays the here. So then when I click it, our page goes there. Great. And so that is actually already the basics of creating a link. Very simple, right? Now we want this link here to actually be like inside of this text. So inside of one more paragraph here, right? So let's create the paragraph so you can learn more it. And then this link here is basically just a continuation of the text in here. So inside of this paragraph, as you can see in the demo page, you can learn more it. So we are just wrapping the link inside the paragraph element. So we just grab the text here and then we just wrap our anchor link inside the paragraph element. Now notice that what happens. Here once again when I click it, so you see that we navigated directly to this page and now your own web disappear. So of course we can go back here, but sometimes what we want to do is to open a link in a new tab. So let me also show you how we can do that. And of course we don't always want that. So many times we actually want the page to really move to the URL that we specified here. But also sometimes it's useful to keep the page open and simply open the URL in a new tab. And we go to that by specifying the target attribute. Then the quotes as always. And this one looks a little bit weird, but so let's give it a save. And when we reload, it will look the same, but the behavior should have changed. And indeed notice how it opened in a new tab. And our original one is still open. Great. So that worked. And so we have now a link. Alright, now just try to include the link which connects the external page by actually creating it. So to create it, just add another file and name it as a blog.html and then just give it a save. And when we open this, here we are again just writing a bare bones structure which you already knew, which is doc type HTML and then just followed by HTML tag. And inside the HTML tag, as you learned earlier, there is a head, and inside the head, I'm just giving a title, which means a blog content, and just and after the head tag, we're just starting the body tag, and inside the body, I just want to try to display a heading which shows blog content and then just give it a save and actually that's it. If we try to include these HTML page inside of our index.html, we are just including under the h1 tag in the code magazine so that you just need to again use the anchor tag and href element and you know the syntax already which is equal to and we should wrap the blog.html inside the double quotes. So I'm just using blog.html and that's it. I'm just closing the tag and here to make the content visible, I'm just here adding the blog. So let's just try to reload the page. Let's just try to reload the page. Yes, you can see here our link which we connected to the external HTML page is displayed here as it is I mentioned here in the blog. So just by clicking it, we can open here the blog content which directly opens the blog.html page. And this is how we will connect to the external page by using the anchor tag and by using the href attribute. Just click here on this back button, but we could also do it to add a link here which simply points back to index.html, right? That sounds like a nice idea, doesn't it? So let's come back to here to the blog.html and we will just try to add here again an anchor tag by using href attribute and Inside the double quotes, we are just wrapping index.html and we are closing it by adding home. So let's just give it a save and let's come back to the HTML dot index and here we just clicking the blog and here and another link is displayed. So by clicking it, we'll come back to the home page. And so now we can basically go back and forth between these two pages because they are now connected through these links. So we can go to the blog, we can go back to the fourth and so on and so forth. Alright, so let's close up this one here. We don't need it anymore. And just to finish, we can also actually specify a link that doesn't go anywhere. Let me show how that you as well. So let's just write the content first. And here I have challenges. I think in the demo page, so we have challenges, Flexbox and CSS grid. So for the challenges, I'm just writing, just specifying an anchor tag and to leave it aside, I'm just simply using the hashtag and keeping the challenges. And that's it. And same for the CSS grid flexbox too. And now let's give it a save and we'll try to reload our page. Since you can see here challenges, flex and CSS grid. But these links doesn't go to anywhere. Okay, and this is how specify links or hyperlinks or anchors as we can also call them in HTML. So this is really important part of the web as I said in the very beginning. And so make sure that you understand how they work and how we place them inside our own web pages. So see you in the next lecture.